everybody. We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, for almost 20 years, my first guest has been the anchor of NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. And just last week, he announced that he's giving up the anchor desk after the 2004 presidential election. Please welcome Mr. Tom Brokaw. This was thank you for being here. This was a big announcement you made the other day. This has everybody talking. Is this a
that and I thought you were talking about J-Lo and Chris Judd, which has just preoccupied me all day long. I'm just absolutely
Yeah, you
crushed.
Broke that story, yeah.
I did break that story. I was a little...
So they're broken apart now, J-Lo, Chris Judd. That's over.
Well, the official explanation is that they're living apart, but they remain friendly and they continue to see each other. Now, people have been saying that about you and me for years.
Yeah,
we're living apart.
Yeah. I just love that this started off with you doing some celebrity dish. You should work that into the nightly news a little more.
Actually, we're going to try to do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. This was a wrenching decision for you? Was it?
Well, it was not. No, it was not wrenching because of the magnitude of the story with which we're now involved. Before 9/11, I was thinking about winding down on the NBC Nightly News and doing some other more long-form treatments, but. Obviously, this is a critically important story. It's one of the largest stories of my journalistic career in terms of the magnitude and the consequences of it.
Right.
And I wanted to see another election cycle through, so I agreed to stay to year 2004. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people heard only he's quitting. So a lot of jobs have been coming in. The guy at the falafel stand down here at 46th and 6th Avenue is saying to me, I could use a little help, Brokaw,
Right, so you're getting offers left and right.
Right, you know.
What's, now Brian Williams, he's going to get the job.
He is.
How mad would he have been if you would announce you were stepping down and that I was replacing you? What would that have done to Brian Williams?
I think it's less about Brian Williams and then the trauma that the country would feel about something like that.
I'm telling you, I could spice up that nightly news, ducking around. Now what? Now this is gonna break up the.
Just run that by me again. Let me see if I can't work that out. How?
You swip around, yeah, like that, and then you disappear, and then you come up like a cat and go. Meow. Not buying it, are you?
No, but I was hoping that maybe you could take that act over.
I'm sorry. I can't help it anymore. I have someone of your caliber on. You'd think I'd spruce it up a little bit. Try and act a little better.
I'm telling you, I'm going to get a tape of all this and send it over to Dan Rather because it may work over there.
Dan, he's been doing it. Now, this, of course, this, of course, is going to break up the famous triumvirate, the trio of you, Peter Jennings, Dan Rather. 3
aging white guys.
As they're also known.
Right.
Your rap group that never went anywhere. And you were on the, I was just looking at this TV Guide cover, which was the top MVPs, and of course it was one of the many pictures that's been taken of the three of you. And I have to say, you look positively evil in this picture. They look at least fairly benign, and you like you're out to kick some ass.
That's Lighting by Bill O'Reilly. I think that's what that is right there.
You're like, I have plans for you. Well, tell us, what do you see? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead to 2004. You've stepped down after doing this job for 20-some-odd years. What do you see yourself doing, say, 10 years after that? What are you going to be, what's your day going to be like?
They haven't talked to you about this, about this chair and where I'm going to be? They haven't shared any of that with you?
No, I'd watch that show, though. I'd watch Late Night with Tom Brokaw anytime.
I'm going to, one of the things I felt strongly about for some time is that I wanted to spend more time on fewer subjects and devote more time in prime time to an examination of the critical issues that are before us. I'm doing 2 documentaries this summer, for example. One that is coming up shortly is the consequences of drunk driving. Now, a lot of people, well, you know, we've been through drunk driving. We took one accident in Boston, followed it for a year. 4 young women out celebrating one of their birthdays. An off-duty cop was a friend of theirs, got in the car with them. They had the designated driver who had not been drinking, went through an intersection. A man who had been it's now widely reported drinking for many hours. Came through the intersection at a high rate of speed, hit the car. The off-duty cop was killed. 3 of the 4 young women were critically injured. The cost physically, financially, psychologically, and every other way, not just to those women, but to Boston and society, and the consequences are enormous. Now, you know, I was young once as well and got into cars where people were drinking, I was drinking, and we used to think, man, I made it.
Right.
But the consequences are enormous, and so we want to do that. I'm doing also another hour called They Took the Money and Ran, which are the stories of Global Crossing and Enron and those huge financial scandals. So I'd like to spend more time working on those kinds of subjects at greater length and not have to be on the air every night at 6:30 at some point in my career.
Because when you have to cover that many topics as you do every night, you sort of have to skim a little bit.
Yeah, and the other thing is that they take attendance every night. You know, it's like going to school. You've got to be there at 6:30, and no matter where you are in the world. I was in Baghdad recently, and it was still 6:30 in New York, and it was 2:30 in the morning there, so you have to be on the air. And you'd like to have some, I suppose, freedom from that very short leash. It's been a great job. I love it. I'm going to continue to do it. This is a vitally important story to our society. I think it's going to, 100 years from now, we'll be looking back in this time and taking the measure of how well we did, and I want to be involved in that.
And what about you personally? You're going to have some more, are you going to take some more downtime? Are you going to, you know,
not in the short term,
grow a crazy beard or do anything like that, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have asked me, and I thought I could be the AARP La Jolla chapter boss of the Hells Angels. I could get a gray ponytail, get a big tattoo, you know.
A tattoo of what? I'm just curious.
Hoop earrings.
Yeah.
A tattoo.
Just as Jennings right there. You're my bitch, you know.
The only one with an ascot.
The only tattoo, yeah, ever. Before we go, I know you are a Knicks fan.
I am a Knicks fan. I'm a big basketball fan.
You're a big basketball fan, though. How are you? Who are you rooting for in this series? Are you going with the Nets?
Well, frankly, I mean, it's much better for NBC, obviously, and for basketball fans everywhere to see this colossus of a team, the Lakers, going against the Cinderella team, the Nets. They've had a great, great season. And in our family, my mother, who is going to be 85 in the fall, she was visiting us in New York the other night, and we wanted to go out. She wanted to stay home and watch her Lakers. And I got home at 12:30. She's jumping up and down in the kitchen saying to me, Shaq got 41 points and 17 rebounds. We're going to be all right. We're going to get into the finals. So I knew things were going to be okay. You know, it would be wonderful for the Nets to pull off this big upset. I'm not sure that that's going to be possible. I thought the Kings were fantastic.
That was an amazing
Henry
series,
Bibby and Jason Kidd are about as much fun to watch in a basketball for as you can possibly imagine.
When you go to a Knicks game, do you have to be careful because they put the camera on you? And if I went to a Knicks game and they put the camera on me, I can be doing anything because people expect me to act like an ass. But you are someone who's kind of an icon to a lot of people. Do you have to watch your personal behavior? Can you eat a big chili dog or something when you're at the Knicks game?
I am fairly careful. At one of the games, one of the refs flipped the ball to me during a timeout, which they'll do from time to time. And, you know, I played high school basketball, and I had one of my daughters with me at the time. So I just had the ball down beside my side, and I was dribbling it, just kind of in a low dribble beside us as we were talking. It showed up on all the 11 o'clock newses that night. So I was a little stunned by that. But one of my favorite moments that's sitting down on the floor is that game in which Michael Jordan was involved. And there was a shot taken from the other end by a Daily News photographer with Michael holding the ball and holding up number one, that familiar thing he was calling a play as he was taking out of bounds. And just over his shoulder, you could see my wife, Meredith, with this kind of downcast expression on her face. So I sent the picture off to Michael with a suggested caption, and he was generous enough to send it back, just as I'd suggested. It says, "Dear Meredith, cheer up. It will only get worse."
Nice of him to do. Nice of him to play along. Before we go, we have an album of memories is now available in paperback.
It is.
And
all the proceeds go to something called the Freedom Fund, which was organized by Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, bipartisan, to provide scholarships for the offspring of all the victims of 9/11. And we're about to make a presentation of a very substantial check before too long. These are the stories based on letters that people wrote to me after the first 2 books.
Well, it's a very good idea. And the Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, of course. We'll be here
you
with...
don't have to read that part. You should just know that.
I don't know when it's on.
You don't have to read It's the Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. You should just know that.
The Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, that's 6:30 CBS. Catch it. We'll take a break. Liam Schreiber is coming up. We'll be right back. Tom Brokaw, everyone.